All right, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Speak True Sports podcast. I'm Bert, as you know, and today I'm joined by two very special guests to talk about some NBA draft stuff. We're going to be doing a live mock draft. This is just for fun. We're going to goof around. Not every pick is going to be exactly what we think it's going to be, but we'll be exploring some possibilities along the way as well. So don't take it too seriously. Kick back, relax, and have some fun. So let me introduce my two special guests, though. First, we have Jaden. Say hi to
That's me.
And then we also have Mr. West, but his his Instagram handle is @PissedOffWizardsFan. So go ahead and introduce yourself, Mr. West.
Thanks for having me. Excited to do a not so serious mock draft with you guys.
All right, let's not waste too much time on this. Let's kick off with number one. I got number one. We're gonna be going in we're gonna be rotating in the order whatever of what we're picking. So I got the first pick. You got the second pick, right, West?
No, Jaden does.
Jaden's got the second.
All right, Jaden's got the second pick.
I got the third pick.
West got the third pick. All right. With the first pick in the 2022, that's the year, right? NBA draft. The Orlando Magic are. I'm gonna make him select Chet Holmgren.
Yeah, that's crazy.
There you go. All right. So Chet's a true unicorn type of player. He does almost everything well that you could ask for in a center. His only issue is his strength, and people are really worried about that. I'm not as worried about that. I don't think there are as many dominating post big men nowadays anyway, so I think he'll be fine. And if he needs to spend a year or two at power forward just to bulk up, I think he can do that as well. But yeah, I think there's a lot of smoke about Jabari Smith going to the Magic. I think it's smoke. I think the Magic are looking at Chet, man. I think they like him the most. And I think somebody else even came out with a report that was saying the Magic might be eyeing Chet. So
yeah, there was a couple with the last day or two saying that Jabari's falling a little bit in the eyes of Orlando scouts.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think Orlando's made a decision.
Sorry, go ahead.
I don't think Orlando's made a decision, but it was. Yeah. I was a few weeks ago. It was Jabari was their consensus, but I don't think that's true. But
he's still the heavy betting favorite, which I would not take. It's like a -200. I would not take that.
Yeah, it's not worth it.
All right, Jaden, do you want to go with number two?
All right, yeah, I'll be drafting second for the Oklahoma City Thunder, and second pick, 2022 draft. I guess I'll take Jabari Smith. I was really hoping for Chet to fall just because I think he's a much better prospect. But with Jabari, you get what you get. You get a 3-and-D wing. He's got potential to shoot over anybody with his insanely large and long frame. And he's 6'10", long arms, great shooter. He's a great wing defender. He's definitely got some flaws with him only shooting 43.5% from two and not being a very good interior defender as a 6'10" power forward. But I feel like with all of his strengths, those flaws will be pretty easy to hide in such a developmental team as the Thunder are. So
I saw someone to compare to him. Someone that had a player comparison for him. It was just power forward Klay Thompson, which is I kind of got. He has really good mechanics. He moves well off of one dribble or off the ball, but I don't know. I feel like obviously his handle's not good, but I feel like he's pretty fluid though when it's just raising up.
The biggest problem with Jabari is, like Jaden said, the 2-point percentage. He needs to get better finishing at the rim, which is a little concerning for a guy who's 6'10".
Very, very bad finisher. Yeah. I think within 0 to 3 feet, he's around 53%, which that's pretty bad for a point guard. That's 6'3", let alone a 6'10" power forward. That's abysmal. And that's going to be something he's going to work on. But OKC, they can develop their and I think with his strength, I think they'll be able to hide that. And I think it'll be fine.
Yeah, for reference, most point guards are around 60% at the rim, if not better.
Mm-hmm.
So to be 53 at 6'10" is really, really bad,
especially at the collegiate level.
Yep.
Isn't he the youngest player in the draft or something like that?
He's not the youngest, but he's 18.
He's young. He's one of the youngest.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm thinking Sam Presti. I think he wants Jabari Smith to fall, if I'm being honest, because I feel like he's gonna look at him as like KD Jr. and he's gonna try and develop him like a KD, even though
I
they're
mean,
completely different. No, they're
I
completely
don't
different.
know. I
Like,
think
I mean,
Chet's a very Presty player. I mean, I feel like granted Chet's Chet, so he's any kind of GM player, but I mean, Presty likes those unicorn type players. He drafted Poku,
that's true.
and no one was thinking Poku went 18.
Mhm.
I mean, I could see Presti even reaching as far to grab Nikola Jovic at 12. If I'm being completely honest, that just seems like a move he would make.
That's true.
He's very like basis, like he's got his own thing, and he doesn't listen to anybody. So he could
yeah,
definitely.
he's looking for the high ceiling, absolute hit picks. Like,
Yep.
Absolute. Like, I'm getting my guy. I don't care at all about any consensus draft boards. I just feel like this guy, he could be so great. If I have to reach to take him, I don't care. I'm taking him. He goes against the norm, I guess, but
Yeah, because
just like the tanking too. But
if a single high ceiling guy pans out like a Poku, if he would have panned out, you put him next to SGA, they already got, and then you got guys like Trey Mann, who's already proved that he's going to be a good bench player. You got Josh Giddey. I know there's a lot of different opinions on him, but he's still going to be a great playmaker. He's going to be a great initiator for that offense. You get like that kind of group around someone like Poku or Chet. Like if their ceiling hits, that's a potential dynasty right there.
Yep.
So
a lot of ifs though, and it really depends on who do you think has the higher ceiling, Jabari or Chet. But let's go to West for the Houston Rockets pick number 3. Who do you got them taking?
all right, so third pick, Chet and Jabari off the board. They got building around KPJ and Jalen. I still think they're going to try to keep KPJ at point guard, which I think it ended the season pretty well. I feel like people don't give KPJ credit for that. He was actually pretty efficient, but I don't really see him as a long-term point guard, but we'll have to see. They got Christian Wood, who doesn't really fit their timeline, even though he's like in the mid-20s.
yeah.
I'm just gonna go, in my opinion, best player available, Paulo Banchero, power forward out of Duke. I feel like he's just, I don't know, he's a really good shot creating power forward, who can space the floor. He defensively, he's not there yet, but I feel like he can be good. I mean, yeah.
He has the tools defensively. He's just got to work on recognizing coverages or recognizing offensive coverage, stuff like that. I think Paolo could be really good. He actually is a sneaky good playmaker as well, so he could also help them out in terms of passing the ball. And then finally, I mean, overall, I think his defense, I think it's gonna be less of a concern when there's with the NBA spacing.
Well, it's. I mean, to me, it's not really a concern. It's just not really close to being a strength right now for him. But
yeah, I think he's got the tools to make it a strength, or not necessarily a strength, but definitely something that's not like
he can. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he, in his rookie year, he's actually serviceable as a defender. But
oh yeah, for sure. I mean, he's athletic too. Not a freak athlete, but like he'll be able to, especially if he plays power forward, he'll be able to stay in front of most power forwards, and he'll be able to force tough shots. And power forward is quite easily, in my opinion, the worst position, like just amongst the NBA. Like it's got the least amount of talent of any position. So if he's consistently guarding fours, I don't think it's going to be a big issue.
Also, didn't the Rockets for the majority of the season run Wood at the 5, or am I wrong here?
No, they ran like Tice when they had him at the 5.
They ran Tice at the 5. They ran Wood at the 5 like minimally.
Okay.
But Wood's a pretty rough defensive 5.
Oh, yeah, he's not a good rim protector at all.
The thing with Paolo though is he reminds me a lot of a Pistons Blake Griffin. I don't know if anyone else thinks that, but I think it's like, other than I feel like Paolo's quite a bit more athletic than Blake Griffin was when he was in Detroit. But other than that, I think they're like pretty much same player, good scorer, from good finisher, good mid-range shooter.
I think he can be a much better playmaker, but I
Blake Griffin was a decent player. I think he was averaging like 5 assists a game in Detroit.
He was a pretty good playmaker.
Yeah, he was pretty good.
I think Paolo could get around 5 to 7, depending on the system that he gets to and his usage rate, whatever.
Yeah, and I think out of the top three, I think Paolo has the best chance to be the number one scorer on a playoff team.
Yeah, I
be the
think
lead
he's
guy.
definitely got. I think he's the best scorer of the three, no doubt about it. And overall, offensively, he's probably the best offensive player, at least as of now.
Yeah.
I think he's got pretty easily the lowest ceiling of the three.
Yeah.
Which, you know, it is what it is. When you're going up against guys like Chet or Jabari, your ceiling's gonna be tough to beat, considering both of their ceilings are pretty high. But I mean, I think that's the only reasonable pick for the Rockets right there. I mean, the next few guys coming up, a lot of them are guards. They've already got Jalen Green. They've got KPJ. They've got plenty of guards. They need some wings.
All right, let's speed it up a little bit here because we got a lot of picks to go through.
Yeah, true.
I'm gonna start throwing the curveballs right here. This is where it's gonna get dicey. I got number 4. I got the Kings. Look, man, the Kings, they took Marvin Bagley 2nd overall. They could take literally anybody here, and I would not be surprised. And I'm going to lean into that, and I'm going to have the Kings taking a guy. I'll explain the pick in a second. Just give me. I'll let the shock wear off first. Number 4, Kings draft Dyson Daniels. Boom.
Good.
I mean, he didn't have like a workout, or he said he's going to have a workout with him.
Yes.
He is shooting up a draft.
Oh yeah, he's definitely the biggest riser.
Let me explain specifically why as well. For one, like I said, the Kings are prone to reaching for their guy or the guy that they just like the best, right? Number 2, when you look at why they drafted Marvin Bagley, it's not just because his fit with De'Aaron Fox. It's not just because of stuff like that. It was actually because I remember right before the draft, Marvin Bagley came out and said, I want to be in Sacramento. I really like the city. I love Sacramento. You know who just came out and said, I think one of my best fits in the NBA is going to be with Sacramento? Dyson Daniels.
However,
he's also having a workout with him.
Yeah.
I think they're going to fall in love with the person of Dyson Daniels, the player, and they're going to disregard the fit because I don't think he fits with De'Aaron Fox well. Yeah. I really don't like the fit.
The thing with that is they just had a guard that fit fairly decent with Fox. Not great just because he was young. He loved Sacramento, which, as everyone here knows, very rare thing. A lot of people don't like playing for Sacramento for good reason. And they traded him for Domantas Sabonis. No shade to Sabonis. He's a great player. Questionable trade. And that was probably the only player on that franchise that truly loved being in Sacramento to play for the Kings. Mm-hmm. But I could definitely see him making that pick. I mean, I think Dyson Daniels has one of the highest ceilings in the draft. No questions about it.
You just got to put it all together. His offense is the big problem right now. Particularly if he can just shoot, if he just gets his shot down well, I think that would do enough for his offense to just open up the floor for everything else to fall in place.
Yeah.
And on another justification for why they might want Dyson Daniels, because they tried to trade for a guy at the deadline. If you remember, they tried to trade for Ben Simmons. Mm-hmm. And they offered the same deal with Halliburton. I think they offered like Halliburton. These are reports that they offered Halliburton, Barnes, Buddy Hield for Tobias Harris and Ben Simmons, and a couple firsts, I think, for Tobias Harris and Ben Simmons. They were trying to get a guy like that who plays defense, who's a big guard on their team. Dyson Daniels is kind of along the same vein.
He is a lot like Ben Simmons.
He's the closest to Ben Simmons we have in this draft, except he's not scared to take shots.
He shoots fairly well. He's actually not even fairly well. I mean, the last week or two of the season, he shot, I think, 40% from three, and over the entire season, he shot 40% on catch and shoot threes. So he's a fairly good off the ball shot maker. Mm-hmm. Only thing is, he does try to take a few too many self-creation threes, which he just isn't there yet, which it should come. He's got the touch for it. So
his form right now is not built for off dribble threes for sure, but catch and shoot, he's actually better than people realize. That 26% number is also a little bit misleading in terms of he's been shooting from NBA range the entire year because he's been in the G League. So technically, I think his numbers are actually a little bit more impressive than they seem. And I think he's going to be a little bit more ready to shoot the NBA three than people think.
Yeah.
But yeah, the last 9 games, he shot 41% from three, I believe. I believe that's the stat.
And he's very good off the ball shooter. Not very good off the ball player, but when he's catching and shooting, he's a good shooter.
All right, let's jump to number 5.
All right, that would be me, and that would be Detroit. And I wasn't expecting to get him to pair him with Cade. I think this is a really good
this is a great pairing.
Backcourt duo, and I'm gonna throw Jaden Ivey in there.
Yes,
and
sir.
I think Ivy with Cade is not a perfect fit, but a pretty good fit. I mean,
Cade can cover Ivy's like defensive flaws now. I think not like entirely, but Cade's already, in my opinion, a good guard defender. And then he's shown he can be good in the passing lanes, but he's still obviously
he's a bit over aggressive. But him in college, he went toe to toe with some of the most athletic guards in college basketball, and he put him in Alcatraz, as one would say. And I think the defense that team would have on the perimeter would be insane. It would help guys like Isaiah Stewart, who aren't great interior defenders. It would help them a lot. And then like Bagley too, as someone who's not good defensively, having guys in the perimeter that'll help you out a bit. That's going to help a lot. And then just Cade can kind of like help Ivy out a little bit, just because they're pretty similar players, hyper athletic guards, fairly like good playmakers, good scorers, whatever. So Cade could help him a lot, just because I think he's more mature as a player than Ivy is, for sure. And Cade's a great off ball player. Ivy's a great on ball player. Cade's obviously going to be the best player on that team. Cade's going to be the guy, but I think they can fit pretty seamlessly together as a 1-2 punch. And with the way the NBA is going, it's pretty guard dominant. So having two guards like that, when they get to the point where they can be playoff teams, when they're in there just with Ivy and Cade, it's going to be hard to defend both of them.
It's also going to be hard to beat out Killian Hayes for the starting job too, you know?
Stop it, bro. Stop it, bro. If I was doing this podcast like at the time of that draft, dude, I would have been exonerated, because I hated Killian Hayes as a prospect so much, man. I was like, because he was getting so much hype out of nowhere. But that's a completely different topic.
Don't get Bert started on Killian Hayes. We still got another 20-something picks left.
Kevin O'Connor,
right,
O'Connor, this is your fault, bro. This is all your fault.
All right, anyways. I got the 6th pick. I am the Indiana Pacers. So, all right, looking at my imaginary board right here. So I feel like I don't know. Obviously, like there's like a home run of a trade getting Halliburton to build around as your point guard of the future. That was good. I still don't trust that they're fully committed to a rebuild, even though they made that trade. I feel like they're still may want to be semi-competitive, because obviously before that trade they were like,
well, we know that.
You know, they were like always making the playoffs. Like they haven't had like a top 5 pick since like what, I don't know, like the late 80s or something. They like Pacers have like never tanked. So I'm not going to trust it. I'm choosing between 2 people here, and I'm going to choose between the one that I think will help them win the most. And that's Keegan Murray out of Iowa. Now he is 22 years old. He's an old sophomore, right? Who was this? I don't know.
I think he was a junior. No, he was a sophomore. He was an old sophomore.
Yeah, but yeah. Obviously, like not young, but and this isn't necessarily what I would do, but I think they're gonna try to pair. I think they're gonna draft Keegan to fill that power forward spot. I think they're sold on Duarte, even though he's 24 years old. He's like older, or like 25. He's like older than like Tatum and some dudes. I feel like they're just kind of trying to, I don't know how to explain it, but like a win now retool of like young players. I feel like they're going to do that.
So the Washington Wizards reborn, essentially, is what you're
getting at? But at least the Pacers are starting their young guys.
Fair enough.
Okay.
But I don't mind that pick. Especially just because, like, as you said, Pacers are always like trying to compete, even if they know they can't. They always put together a team that's competitive, and I think Keegan I feel like the other guy you were considering was Sharp.
You're right.
I figured. I mean, especially they still have Brogdon, even though he might get traded.
They're definitely going to try to move him.
Yeah, I feel like they will. But they do have guard talent already. So putting Keegan next to Miles Turner, I think will help Miles a lot just because he won't have to cover as much ground because of Keegan's defensive versatility being able to guard 1 through 4.
Yeah. I mean, people are comparing him to Tobias Harris. I think it's a pretty good comparison. But I say we jump to the next pick over here because this could go in a number of different directions. And if you've noticed, somebody has been falling. If you've paid attention.
Well, and he's also been getting a bit of criticism from anonymous draft scouts recently.
Yes, and whether or not that's smoke is up to you to decide. I kind of believe it.
I do too.
If you ask me, because everything he brings up is totally a fair point, right?
And with the 7th pick being Portland, knowing that they want to win now, picking a guy like that you haven't seen much film on, it's kind of.
That's why I'm going to take Benedict Mathurin here. And I think the Blazers would really, really like having him in this spot. I think he could play really well off of either Dame or Anthony Simons. I think he plays really well with both of them. He's really solid shooter. He's a really good offensive player all around. He can shoot. He can drive. His defense is the question mark, but I think he puts enough effort in defensively. I think it's a lot of it's based on how much effort he puts in. So the more effort he puts in, I think the better he usually looks on defense. In some games where he's tuned out, he just doesn't look like he's there.
He's going to Portland. They don't care about defense there. He'll fit in.
Yeah. I also consider Jalen Duren here, but I think it's a little too high for a center. But at the same time, the Blazers are probably going to trade this pick or try to trade this pick, and they've been rumored to be wanting DeAndre Ayton, who is a center. So there is grounds for Jalen Duren to be drafted here, as well as, I mean, just Yusuf Nurkic is just not, he's injured every single year. He's not a good defender. He's not doing much for the Blazers right now, and I doubt
he's a free agent
long
term. If you mentioned that,
but I doubt he's in their long term plans right now.
Definitely not. He could be a helpful guy, like off the bench for a title contender, but he's not a guy that you want to throw in there as a defensive anchor.
Yeah,
and especially when I'm just talking about history with the Blazers. You had guys like Dame, CJ McCollum, like running the guards, and you got your defensive anchors, Yusuf Nurkic. Like, I mean, I get offense is offense, but at some point you got to get someone that can play a little bit of defense back there.
All right, let's jump to 8, which is the Pelicans, which they have that pick via Los Angeles Lakers. So go ahead, Jaden. Who do you got?
All right, so I didn't anticipate our guy Sharp falling this far, and as the Pelicans, what I would do, I would take Sharp, and I think that pairing, you pair them up with some of the young guys that they've stolen, like they've just found, like Alvarado, and then you have BI, Zion, and then just that whole entire young core. I think that, I got to go Sharp. I just think his ceiling's very, very, very high. And I think obviously the Pelicans are competitive and they're playing to win right now. And they just got CJ McCollum. So 2 guards kind of occupied right now. But I just don't think you can pass up a talent like that at number 8, especially when you're not in a massive hurry to compete. Like, you can have him be a 6-man for a year or 2, and then year 3, he could be that guy. When I watch him, I guess not when I watch him, when I saw some of his tape or whatever, he reminds me a lot of a Brandon Roy from back in 2010. He reminds me a lot of that, with a slightly worse handle. Well, not slightly worse, a fair bit worse handle, but I mean, I think the shot making's there. I think he's got decent defensive potential. Like, I mean, it's hard to know just because he hasn't played a damn game since he was 12. But, I think that's the route I would go for sure. Obviously, you got guys like Sokan, who would be a very Pelicans pick, in my opinion, but I'm going to lean Sharp there.
Yeah, I actually disagree with you on the direction the Pelicans would go here. I really feel like they just try to get the most win now possible player here.
See, I feel like that's fair because they got Ingram and Zion and all that, but I feel like deep down they're fully aware that they aren't one win now rookie away from competing. They're a few pieces, not like competing. I mean, like competing for a championship rather than a 5 or 6 seed. Like I think if they went out, grabbed Sokan, and then ran that versatile
Sohan.
versatile power forward lineup with him and like some of the guys they have, they could end up being like a 6 seed, 5 seed. But I think they know that's not going to be there with that core. It's going to be a decent bit before they get into title contention. And I think a guy like Sharp, if he pans out, could be the guy that takes him over that edge. Like him and Zion offensively. I mean, that dynamic right there with could be two of the best scorers at their respective positions, all both in their prime when Zion's like.
To me, they already are, but like
what?
To me, they already are.
Like a good duo.
Like I feel like Zion when he was healthy was literally no one could guard him. I feel like, and then Ingram, I feel like he's proven enough to be one of the best 3-level scorers in the league.
For sure. Ingram and Zion. Sorry.
Yeah. So okay, I think we got the gist of it. We got Sharp to the Pelicans. All right, West, you got the Spurs pick.
All right, this one's gonna be a little bit of a surprise. Even though he's falling, I'm gonna go with AJ Griffin out of Duke.
Okay.
Now, there's a lot of options here. There's Duren, Sokan, and Davis, but I feel like you get Griffin, who can play the 3 or the 2, who's one of the best, if not the best, outside shooter in the draft, who has the potential, shot creating potential. He's shown he can do a little bit off the dribble, and if he can gain back that athleticism pre-injury, plus with the shot creation development, I think he can be good. And I feel like a floor spacer paired with DeJounte, I think with a solid floor and just a solid ceiling, I feel like that's a solid pick for the Spurs. I think that's what they pick. That's what they do. And I think I was thinking Jalen Duren out of Memphis center, but I feel like they trust Jakob Poeltl. I don't know why, but I feel like they do.
All right. I mean, I agree with that pick. Good pick.
Yeah.
Shot 45% from 3 this year, I believe. And I mean, he made Paolo's job really easy, took a little bit of defensive pressure from him, just made that offense flow. Anytime you can get a guy that can shoot, I think it was like 39% from the NBA 3 this year when he was shooting from that deep. I mean, he's ready to go. He's tall, he's long, he's a good defender, decent off the dribble. Good player, good pick.
I disagree heavily with the good defender. I think he's just like really slow for his size, but at the same time, a lot of people are contributing that to his athleticism declining because of a couple injuries, and that injury history is kind of why he's taking a fall. I could definitely see the Spurs going in this direction, but personally, I would have picked someone different here, but I'm going to save that for my pick, which is up next. I got 10. I got the Washington Wizards. And at this point, I mean, they've just got to go best player available. They don't really, there's not really I don't think they should lock themselves into a specific position of need or anything. I think they should go Johnny Davis here. I think Johnny Davis is the best player available right now. He's going to make his money defending in the NBA. He's a really, really solid and tenacious defender. He fights around screens. He's a really aggressive defender, but also not overly aggressive. So he's not, causing fouls. He can also dribble and handle the ball. He makes a lot of tough shots. So he's pretty decent at scoring. And I think it's going to translate to the NBA. I'm a little worried about his jump shot. The form is just kind of weird to me. The mechanics of it are just kind of weird to me. But overall, I think Johnny Davis is a really solid player here. And he said himself, I think he looks up to Bradley Beal. Now he's going to be playing with Bradley Beal. So I think it's a perfect situation for him to develop, is listening to a guy like Bradley Beal, right?
I mean, I think he's a Bradley Beal prototype. I think he's very similar player. Obviously, he's a better defender than Beal. Yeah. But, I think offensively they play a lot alike. And if he hits his ceiling, I think he's got a top 3 to 5 ceiling in this class. I think his ceiling's unbelievable. Defensively, offensively, I think he's just a great player.
Yeah. I don't have much to say except that Bert, as a fellow Wizards fan, you do not let me down.
That's because this guy's been obsessed with Johnny Davis for like the past month and a half. I will continue. So we got 11. Jaden, this is you. It's the Knicks.
Okay. So I'm picking for the Knicks here. There's a few guys I could choose from. I'm not like Bert did with the Wizards. I'm not going into one specific position. And I think right now the best player available and someone that could help the Knicks compete for a playoff spot or like a 7-8 seed, something like that next year, I think it's Jeremy Sohan. And I think just defensively, very versatile. He can guard, in my opinion, 1 through 4, maybe some 5s too. He's just a great defender. And offensively, he's a little limited, not a great shooter. He can pass a bit. He's a fairly good finisher, but I mean, he's going to make his money defensively. He's just great player. And
high floor.
What?
Pretty high floor.
Oh yeah, very high floor. His ceiling's not crazy just because offensively he can't do much like as a self creator. But I mean, take a guy like that, he could be thrown into not exactly what I would say a Draymond Green role, but something fairly similar to that.
Yeah,
I would say
where you'd hope he would become somewhat like a Draymond Green.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think that's a really solid pick. The Knicks really struggled with defense last year. I mean, starting Evan Fournier in general is it's a shot in the knee to your defense. And I think Jeremy Sohan would help a lot. I think he'd be a great fit there, great pick there.
Yeah.
Number 12.
I'll just have to say one thing. I think he is a very Thibodeau. He's a Thibodeau guy, in my opinion. Sure. So I feel like he'll fit in well there. All right, that's all. All right, I have the 12th pick, and I'm the Oklahoma City Thunder. I'm going to pick a guy. What?
Oh, sorry.
Okay. So this is a guy I didn't expect him to be here, that he could have gone as early as 7. So I'm going to pick Jalen Duren.
Yeah.
Even though I do have Chet Holmgren right now, but I feel like Chet definitely has the potential to be a floor spacer at the 4.
The Thunder drafted in this draft Jabari Smith earlier.
Oh,
so
what?
This is
I took Jabari Smith.
I've been sorry. I've been seeing a lot of
I'm in your head.
Holmgren propaganda.
Yeah, from me.
Okay, keep going.
I'm in your head. That's
okay.
Bad.
Well, it's even better because Jabari he's gonna play power forward. So Duren should be a great pick because, as Jaden mentioned, Jabari struggles a little bit protecting the rim, and that's basically Duren's specialty. I feel like he has a high ceiling. He's one of the youngest players in the draft, I think, 18 years old.
Yep.
I feel like it's a no-brainer right here.
I
agree.
He's a great player. I think he reminds me a lot of like a young Bam Adebayo. Do I think he'll be that good? Probably not, but could he be? Yeah, I think I see a lot of Bam in him. I just see a better Precious Achiuwa when I look at Jalen Duren. So I think that's a great pick.
All right, I'm up next, 13 with the Hornets. And a lot of people are like, okay, I want to debunk the draft methodology people are trying to employ here because I'm going to take Mark Williams here.
Yeah.
The center from Duke. And a lot of people are saying, well, why don't you wait until 15? Because the Cavs aren't going to draft the center. Look, man, there's 28 other teams in the NBA. All it takes is one deal to go through and you lose your guy. Mark Williams is the guy the Hornets need the most. I think he's the guy that they like the most. Take your guy, let everything else fall into place. So Hornets right here, I'm making them take Mark Williams. I think he's a great fit. LaMelo needs a big lob threat. The lobs are going to be insane from LaMelo to Mark Williams. Mark Williams is a great defender. He's a great paint protector. He's just going to be such a solid player, and he measured so crazy at the combine. Like
7
that man is a monster.
with shoes.
That man is a monster.
He's got like a 9-something standing reach, can almost dunk standing up straight.
Yep.
Unbelievable. It's a lot like with LaMelo and Mark. It's going to be a lot like a Trae Young, Clint Capella kind of feel. Like when I see Mark Williams, I see Clint Capella reborn. It's the same player.
I'd argue he's more athletic, though. I think he's moving his feet for sure.
For sure. Young Clint was very athletic, but as he got older, his feet, but I mean, Mark Williams, I think, is just a Clint Capella, definitely has a higher ceiling than current Clint.
Yeah.
But his floor is like around a worse Clint Capella, which I think is a very, very good floor for a center.
All right.
I think that's just a perfect
and
pick.
Obviously they need a center with Plumlee being their starting center last year.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's a good thing they fired their coach because now maybe the rookies will actually get time to develop and play.
Yeah, exactly.
Next pick, number 14, the Cavs. I think that's you, Jaden.
Yeah, that is me. So I'm a big believer in the guy that I'm going to take, and he's been climbing up boards recently, but he has been consistently been before recently. He's been like mid to low 20s projected, and I think he's for sure a lottery talent 100% sure. I think the Cavs, considering they're going to get rid of Sexton, well, potentially going to get rid of Sexton, I think they need a replacement for him. And obviously don't really need any more bigs with Mobley and Allen and Markkanen, all that. And I'm going to take a surprise here. I'm going with Jalen Williams.
That's a solid pick.
And I think his playmaking potential with a lob threat like Allen, and you get to take pressure off of why am I blanking on his name?
Darius
Garland. You take pressure off of Garland, so he doesn't have to be the only playmaker and only ball handler on that team. And I think that dynamic of those two running the offense with Mobley and Jared Allen, I think that's just absolutely insane. And then you got role players, you got a solid bench with guys like Okoro, and I just think that'd be such a perfect fit for the Cavs.
Yeah, I could definitely see this reach here. It would be a reach technically, but I think he's good enough to go in this range. I genuinely do. He's a really solid offensive player in general. He can shoot. Yeah. He can also drive. And he plays defense. That's something the Cavs like. He plays defense. If he's on this team, I mean, that's going to be even scarier team than last year defensively.
Yeah,
that's going
to be filthy.
Yeah.
Defense
and I mean, the reason he started so low is because he went to a small school. He went to Santa Clara. We're talking about that Jalen Williams. There's 2 Jalen Williams in this draft. Yeah, we're talking about the Santa Clara one, I believe. And that's kind of the reason he started so slow. But he definitely, as the combine's been going on, he really made a name for himself. And he's just been, you're right, he's been climbing up boards. I could definitely see that as the pick right there for sure. Honestly, that's probably like the top end of where he's going to go. But I definitely think
I don't see him going. I don't even see him going in this, like here. I see him going probably like 18 to 22 range. Yeah. But like me personally, I think he's a top 15 talent in this draft, 100%.
All right, we're going back to the Hornets at 15. This is via the Pelicans. Who do you got, Wes?
So this is a guy who I've been a bit lower on recently, but I feel like he basically fits what Charlotte needs right now, and I think they're gonna pick based on need right now. I'm predicting they will, and that's Ochai Agbaji, if I said that right.
Ochai,
okay. He's 22-year-old senior out of Kansas, national champion, great 3-and-D player. Shot at a solid clip. On-ball defense is great. Off-ball defense, not so much. I don't have that big of a belief in him like developing into a good scorer or self-creator. But I feel like he's just what Charlotte needs. They were like ranked 26th, 27th, I don't know, something like that defensively last year. He brings that on-ball defense. He's gonna help you win now. I think he's a high floor player in my opinion.
Yeah.
He's gonna bring that spacing. He's gonna bring defense to a not so good defensive team. Mm-hmm. And I feel like he's gonna be a really solid rotational piece for them.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking for a direct comparison, I think it's actually pretty accurate. I think he's like a more athletic KCP. He plays for the Wizards and used to play for the Lakers. I think he's a little smarter with his shot selection than KCP is, but overall, yeah, I think Ochai he's basically that stereotypical 3-and-D guy, but he has some upside driving and getting flashy dunks, catching lobs. Like he could definitely
very solid finisher.
Yes,
and I think the Hornets, if they can walk out of that draft with Mark Williams and Agbaji, I don't think they can complain. I think that those are 2 guys that can not necessarily start day one, but they can definitely compete to start day one.
They're contributing day one, in my opinion.
Yeah, they'll contribute day 100%. And I think they can compete to be in the starting 5, both of them.
All right. I got the Hawks next at 16. I'm going to take, even though supposedly he's been sliding down draft boards a little bit, I think he's a really good fit for the Hawks. I'm going to take Tari Eason. Tari Eason is a very versatile defender. He's very switchy. A lot of people are kind of comparing his frame to Kawhi, which kind of makes sense. He's got really big hands. He's 6'8". He's built. But at the same time, I think Kawhi is a little bit of a better defender. But Tari, I will give him credit that he definitely has one of the highest defensive IQs in this draft. His offense is the worry. He's pretty good at like scoring, like just in general. But his shooting is kind of the concern right now because his shot just looks, I mean, he shoots from like here. Like it's like it's a really mechanically bad shot. But with time, I think if he just kind of takes here and puts it here, I think it can work.
Yeah.
And the Hawks have I don't want to say the luxury to wait a little bit, but they do have guys that can play. They don't need to play Tari right now. And they love their wings. The Hawks love their wings. They just lost Cam Reddish. Why not take a guy who could replace him defensively, actually do better than him defensively, in my opinion, and just needs a little bit help on offense. I think that would, and especially with DeAndre Hunter's kind of inconsistent health, I think wing is a good pick here. I think Tari Eason's a really good pick here.
Yeah, I think he reminds me of Sohan, just a watered down version of him. And I think if you can get him around this range, like solid, versatile defensively, good athlete, good finisher, like he's got, I mean, when I just see like less put together Jonathan Kuminga, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. I think that's a good rookie. That's a great pick for this range. I just think that's a good player.
All right. 17 is the Rockets. They got this pick via the Brooklyn Nets.
Okay. So Rockets right now, they suck. So I don't think they can draft for fit because everyone other than shooting guard, they don't have someone on the roster right now that is like set their part of the future guaranteed. So I'm gonna go with so I'm gonna go with who I think the best player available is. And I believe this is our first international guy, and I'm gonna go with Ousmane Dieng from France. I think he's been shooting up boards, and I personally love him. He's a phenomenal playmaker as a forward. I believe he's 6'9", good athlete, phenomenal playmaker, especially out of the P&R. And if you can get that with some of their guys like Wood or just with that, and then you have Jalen Green as a off-ball guard, not off-ball guard, but just give your offense some more versatility. You get a small forward that can run operate the P&R like that, and it takes a little pressure off Jalen Green because he's been getting a little heat because he's not a very good playmaker. You get another guy, you got KPJ, you got Dieng, who can both take pressure off of him as a ball handler, and it just makes his job easier, and it makes the bigs' jobs easier as well, especially with him being 6'9", versatile, has good defensive potential. He's not a great defender right now, but the potential is absolutely there. Just I think that he's the best player available.
Yeah, the way he moves his feet at his size is really impressive. I think that's the most impressive part of Ousmane Dieng right now. But he's extremely raw. He's gonna have to go to a team that is willing to put years into developing him. But yeah, I mean, the Rockets are a perfect place to do that. They're not winning anything anytime soon.
Exactly.
Yeah, he can sit back and win there. My only concern is that they did draft Usman Garuba last year, I believe, right? Who's like kind of a similar-ish player.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you could get both of those guys to work, or even just one, I think it would pay off. So
exactly. Yeah, 100%. And
next pick is the Bulls. Wes, why don't you take this away?
So I've been deciding between two guys. But to me, I'm gonna go with the one that's has the highest ceiling. That's Nikola Jovic out of Serbia.
Okay.
I was thinking of going Malachi Branham out of Ohio State, but I feel like they don't pass up on someone who has such a high offensive ceiling as a leader, secondary playmaker as Jovic, who's also, I think, or projects to be a good 3-point shooter. Obviously, his defense needs a lot of work, but he's like, I mean, he's like 6'10". I don't think he's that long, but I think it's just worth it. Obviously, Jovic is more of a point forward, not really a point guard, but I don't know. I feel like they don't pass on talent like this.
That's fair. See, that's a pick that personally I think is a great pick, but Chicago right now, them being, I would say, in the realm of being able to contend to be a top 4 or 5 seed consistently with DeMar and Zach, if they keep Zach, which there's been some probably smoke about Zach potentially leaving, but
Yeah.
I feel like they might go for someone that's a little bit more ready, like right now, like as a backup guard, like a Ty Washington type guy. But I think Jovic is easily the best player remaining in terms of like what he can be eventually.
Yeah, in my opinion, I mean, I think the Bulls are in a little bit of panic mode because that impending Zach LaVine might leave the free agency. I think they're kind of in like a Wizards position where they're trying to prove to Zach LaVine they're ready to win. So yeah, I don't think that they would take Jovic, but I also don't think they'd take Ty Washington because they have the guard is like not their issue in the slightest. I think they're totally okay on guards. I would be looking at a forward here for sure.
Oh, yeah,
I would be looking at a forward. I would basically combine both of your mindsets in both of your picks or whatever, going for a forward, but also going for someone who is more ready to win now. But let's talk about the next pick. All right, I'm up next at 19 with the Minnesota Timberwolves. There's a lot of different directions you could go in here. And there is a guy that's been falling. I'm going to go with Ty Washington.
Yep.
And I was definitely, my other consideration was Malachi Branham. But the reason I went Ty Washington is just because the Wolves are trying to win right now. Malachi Branham is a great scorer, but he's a horrible defender. And the Wolves already have enough horrible defenders. Ty, I think, can at least be a average to above average on ball defender. And I think he'd do really well to sit behind Patrick Beverley for a year and just kind of develop his mentality a little bit and develop his pick up some, skills from Patrick Beverley. I think he'd be honestly just a really, really great fit here. There was another name I was considering here, but I'll bring him up later. But yeah, I think Ty's a great, especially if they trade D'Angelo Russell, because if they trade D'Angelo Russell, they're going to need somebody. They're going to need more guard help, and they've been rumored to be trying to trade D'Angelo Russell. So I think Ty would just fill right in here. I think he'd be a great fit for the Wolves, and he's being a little bit underrated right now, man. Another Kentucky guard who got hurt, wasn't used fully to his capabilities. He can play on and off the ball. He's great. He's honestly just a really solidly built offensive player. He can do everything except for handle at a high level. Everything else is great with him. He can score off the ball. He can score. He can pull up from mid-range. He can shoot from 3. He's way more of a complete player than people realize. And he's also an amazing passer. He's got a great vision, very low turnovers as well.
Yeah.
I think Ty's a great pick here. And I think he's
I think the move there is good. I think him playing behind a guy like D'Lo, if he's still in Minnesota, would do him wonders. Offensively. You got D'Lo to mentor him offensively. You got Pat Bev to mentor him defensively, because both sides of the ball, if he can be tapped in like that, he's got a fairly high ceiling. And I think just his play type, I don't think he plays like D'Lo, but I think it's like he like plays a similar brand of basketball as current D'Lo, because D'Lo is much more pass first than D'Lo was back when he was like on the Nets. So I think he could definitily benefit from that.
I think because he's such a good passer, I feel like he'd fit well. I feel like just the guy, like if they choose to move on from D'Lo, I feel like he can just be the guy who can set the table for pretty much score first franchise centerpieces and Cat. I feel like yeah, he'd be a solid fit, and I think he can, and I think he'll be able to space the floor pretty well after a few years.
All right, let's go to number 20, which is the Spurs. Jaden, I believe this is your pick.
Yeah, this is me.
They have this pick via Toronto.
Who did the Spurs take earlier in this mock. This might.
Earlier, the Spurs took
AJ
West.
Griffin.
Yeah,
I took AJ
Okay,
Griffin.
AJ Griffin. Okay, so right now I feel like they have a pretty glaring need at center, but I don't think there's any centers worth taking at 20. I could reach for Walker, but I feel like they do have talented guards, but I think they could use some guard depth, and I think they could. I think Branham. He's been falling a bit in this. I don't see him falling this far. Realistically, I think Branham's the guy. He can play off ball next to Dejounte. He's a good self creator. He can work off the bench. He can do whatever you need offensively. Obviously, defensive limitations, not limitations. He's just bad. But I think he's a great scorer. I think he's a great fit next to Dejounte and that entire young core in general. And I think they could get him at pick 20. That's unbelievable value. Pretty simple pick here. I just don't see much else of a direction they can go, especially with another first round pick later to potentially fix that hole at center.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you have to take best available there. I'm next. I have Denver, right? 21.
Yep, 21 is Denver.
All right. This one, I think this is like, I feel like I'm just gonna say it. EJ Liddell out of Ohio State.
EJ Liddell, yeah.
Liddell.
It's a good pick.
I feel like they don't really have an so-called answer at power forward. JaMychal Green and Jeff Green. They're not. I'm not saying they're bad. They're serviceable. I think they have player options, but yeah, they're definitely not the answer. They definitely don't have that many more years in the league. I feel like he fits well. I mean, he would fit pretty well with Jokic, even though he's undersized for a 4. I mean, he'll space the floor immediately, and he's just solid defensively. Nothing like that like stands out. But I feel like he's just like a solid pick that can contribute immediately to, which is going to be a team retooling with Jamal Murray and PJ to be a playoff contender next year.
Yeah, I think he can provide what they've been missing since Millsap left them. I think he can be a very similar player to what that version of Paul Millsap was. He's not going to be quite the defender Paul was at that point in his career, but I also think he's going to be better offensively to make up for that. And I think him off the bench after Aaron Gordon, because I don't think they're going to play Aaron Gordon, Liddell, and Jokic lineups very often. I mean, they might have to like in some games, but I think that in like as a starting rotation would be a little odd. But I think him off the bench, getting to develop behind Gordon, especially taking after him defensively, if he can learn a little bit of like defensive instincts from Gordon, I think he could become a very Paul Millsap-like player. Old Paul Millsap, not prime Paul Millsap. I don't see him being that kind of guy, but.
All right. So I'm up at 22. The Grizzlies, this is via the Utah Jazz pick. And the Grizzlies, I do want to say I noticed that in the playoffs, they had a big issue, or one player had a big issue with fouling, Jaren Jackson Jr. And in my opinion, I mean, if that happens again, if that's a consistent issue, they're going to need some help on the wing, even more help on the wing. They have Zaire Williams, who's really good, but I think they need a true solid power forward here, and somebody that can actually help John Morant out a lot with spacing. I'm going to take one of the most slept on players in this draft. Give me Jake LaRavia from Wake Forest. He is 6'8", 6'9", and he is a sharpshooter. I believe he shot about 40% from 3. He can do a lot of good. He can do a lot of things well in general. He's kind of a jack of all trades. He can dribble. He can drive into the paint. He doesn't finish incredibly acrobatically, but that can be improved upon. He's definitely a work in progress, but at the same time, his off-ball defense is good. He has good instincts. His only problem is kind of occasionally he's slow laterally. So occasionally, if somebody blows by him, he's basically just done for.
Yeah.
But I think his offensive potential right off the bat will help, can help the Grizzlies now. And I think eventually the rest of his game, as it fills out, I think he's going to end up being a really, really good all-around player. And I think the Grizzlies, if any team can develop him, I think it's the Grizzlies. So that's my pick for the Grizzlies.
I don't mind that pick. I don't mind that reach. I don't know a ton about him, but from just what I do know a little, I know a little. He reminds me of a not fairly, a much less athletic Trey Murphy, but that's not a bad thing at all.
Yeah, kind of like a Jeff Green with a little bit worse defense is kind of what I was thinking. Like,
yeah, that's a good pick.
All right, so up next, I believe, is pick 23.
Philly.
And this is actually the Sixers picking, because the Nets had the option of picking in this year's draft with the Sixers pick or next year's, and they chose next year. So this is the Sixers pick for right now.
All right. So Philly right now, good team. They're obviously looking to contend, so they're going to want a player that'll help them now. I feel like they could use some bench guy, like a bench scorer, someone maybe as a guard. I think they could use some guard depth, not necessarily someone that's going to play a ton of minutes, but just some depth there. And here's a guy that I personally think is a top 20 player in the draft, and getting him at 23, I feel like good value for a team like Philly who could use some depth at guard. And I'm going to go with Kennedy Chandler out of Tennessee. I think he's very athletic, great finisher, just great scorer. He's athletic. He can stay in front of quick guys defensively. I think he's just a good guy off the bench to go in, get you a few buckets. I think he reminds me of like a Dennis Schroeder guy, like just what his like role could be. And I think that's just what the route that they're going to try to go if he's still there. So I think Kennedy Chandler's the pick there.
Yeah, a big knock on him is that he's undersized. I believe he's like 6'1".
Mm-hmm. And he actually measured 5'11", but
oh, did he? Oh my God. Okay. Was that with shoes or without shoes?
I think without.
Okay. So that's the biggest knock on him is his size. But at the same time, when you watch him play, he tries so hard on defense. Like he puts in so much effort on defense, and he's really solid on offense. I mean, he has good vision. He can pass well. He has a really good handle. He can shoot. Like he does a lot well. It's just his ceiling is kind of capped by his height.
Yep,
that's why he's in this range. If he was 2 or 3 inches taller, he'd be going possibly lottery, right? Like,
he'd be going, not early lottery, but like
he'd be gone
10 to 15 range for sure.
Yeah. That was a solid pick there. So we got 24. We got the Bucks. I believe that's
all right. So this is a very interesting pick to me, actually. The Bucks, in my opinion, even though they have at like guaranteed a top 3, top 2 player in the world in Giannis, I feel like their championship window is closing more rapidly than most people think. I'm going to address a need here that's a pretty big need. If you look at Brook Lopez, he is 34 years old, I think, and he's pretty injury prone. Now, this isn't a guy I'm high on, but I feel like it's a need because I feel like it's just a huge need. So I'm going to pick Walker Kessler at a Auburn center. So he's not gonna start over Brook Lopez or anything, but also I feel like do they have a backup center that's like serviceable?
They have Bobby Portis, who plays the 4 and 5.
Bobby Portis at the 5 is not good.
Other than that, not really.
So yeah, I feel like this is a direct need, rim protection off the bench. It gives them depth. I feel like they could use some playmaking off the bench, but I feel like they didn't really there wasn't really a high ceiling guy. I mean, there was Nembhard, but I feel like that would be a bit of a reach at 23, 24. So I feel like just Kessler just fits. It's an immediate need, and I feel like he'll probably be in the rotation. And I feel like Brook Lopez's time will be up pretty soon. But I'm not a huge fan on him, but I just feel like that's the most obvious pick to me.
I disagree with that pick on the grounds that because Giannis can play center, I feel like center's a less important position for them. And I mean, if I were the Bucks personally, I'd probably go with somebody who has like upside, or either somebody who is a project that they can develop in the background, or somebody who can help right away and help space the floor by shooting or
I
playing
agree.
defense.
That's why I was thinking Jaden Hardy as like that, like a high upside pick, or Blake Wesley as that bench scorer.
Mhm.
Yeah, I didn't think
yeah.
they'd want to do like a high upside. I think they were looking for like
A win
high
now.
floor.
Help
But
now. I get that. And I don't
Yeah, yeah.
mind the Walker Kessler pick considering I think he's a
yeah,
lot more
it
skilled.
is like 24 is a bit early for him.
No,
For me personally.
I think Walker Kessler is a lot like Brooke Lopez. I
Yeah,
think
definitely.
I think
Well,
he
not
can learn-
defensively, but not
I
offensively.
think he can learn a lot from him. And Walker Kessler has good shooting upside. He's got a fairly good floater. He shoots fairly well from the free throw line for a college center. So all that usually translates to NBA success as a shooter. So we'll see how that goes. But I don't mind the pick.
Yeah, I don't mind the pick either. I just disagree with the philosophy there.
That's
Yeah.
fair. That's fair.
So up next is 25, I believe this is Spurs, right?
Yep.
And they have this pick via Boston for the Spurs right now. The previous pick was who did you pick previously?
I think did I take Ousmane?
Yeah, you took Usman Jang.
Usman Dieng.
I'm gonna go ahead and take a center here. And this center I actually have rated above Walker Kessler. I'm gonna take Christian Koloko. I think he's being a little underrated right now, man.
Such a good pick.
I think he would be so solid for them defensively. I like Jakob Poeltl, but he's just not it defensively, in my opinion. He's not enough. He's I don't think he's enough defensively for them. And they also, do they even like have a backup center? Like, I don't even
Zach
think
Collins.
The 3 games he plays a year. They really just need somebody there. They need a body at backup center, and why not take Koloko, who is a really, really good rim protector, and overall can be a lob threat for DeJounte. I think it's a really solid pairing in general.
He also has underrated shooting upside. I don't know
Yeah.
if anyone know this, but I believe he was in the upper 70s as a free throw shooter and had a good floater as far as I'm concerned for a center.
Yeah.
Nothing like Rashad Holmes or anything, but he had touch around the basket, and I think that could develop into like a mid-range kind of guy.
Yes. All right, 26. We got the Mavericks. So Jaden, why don't you go ahead and
All right. So that Christian Koloko, that pick was good because I was thinking about him there.
yeah.
So right,
There is one more center that you could pick.
Yeah. There's a guy that I'm kind of looking at, I think very high upside, but I'm not going center. I'm going to go with a forward here, a wing. I think he's got unbelievable upside. And although Dallas is looking to win now, I think this is something that I can't pass up. I'm going to go Marjan Beauchamp. I don't know how to pronounce it exactly, but hyper athletic, great defensively. I think he would do well with Luka. I think this is just a good pick in general, and not much to say about it. I think he could have gone as early as like 18 to 20, and him this late, I think is just too hard to pass up.
Yeah, I think he's been falling mostly because other guys are just rising, right? And also how the board is playing out. He's a solid talent, especially defensively. I view him as more of like a 2 at the NBA level than I do a 3. But overall, yeah, I mean, in my opinion, I probably would have picked a bigger forward here. Like, I don't want to throw out names like that, but I feel like maybe Wendell Moore could have fit here, or some other guys.
Yeah, that's fair. I think he's too talented to pass up, and I think he's more than capable of playing the 3 because I think his athleticism and his just defensive versatility, I think he's capable of guarding the 1 through 3 and even some smaller 4s, such as like a Liddell or an Aaron Gordon or someone of that stature. I think he's capable of, and I just think he's too versatile defensively to pass up at, what is this, 26?
Yeah, 26. And yeah, I mean, that's the thing with drafts is, sometimes maybe a guy would be a better fit, but you got to go by your board and who you think is the better talent overall.
Exactly.
27, Heat. Who you got, Wes?
Miami. I mean, they're a win now. They have a really deep roster. So, I mean, it wouldn't be easy for really any player I pick to actually earn their spot in the rotation. But I'm just gonna go with Andrew Nembhard, even though it's a little bit weird because it is a reach. No, it is a reach, but I feel like even though I feel like he just perfectly fits what they want, as he's like a pure point guard. He's like one of the best passers in the league, especially out of the PNR. He makes great reads. And then I think recently, I think he showed he's actually a solid shooter in general. Obviously, he doesn't get to the rim like that. He's not the best at creating a shot. And defensively, he's pretty slow for a point guard, but I feel like he's just like a win now pick they'd go for. There's some other guys I was looking at. There's Christian Braun, but I feel like they kind of have players that have a pretty similar skill set to his. So, and I don't feel like they were going to go for a high upside pick.
Okay, that's definitely an interesting pick. There was a couple guys I was considering here. I was not considering Nembhard. That would be a
late second for me.
Yeah, he's like a mid second to me. But if they believe in him,
fair enough.
Go for it, right? Fair enough.
Take your guy.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and move on to the Warriors at 28. This is my pick. I think the Warriors are just looking to take best player available right here. And there's a guy that's been falling that a lot of people believe in. That when you just look at his highlights look good. If you kind of ignore the numbers that he put up in the G League, I'm taking Jaden Hardy. I think this is such a Warriors pick if he falls here, because they're taking the guy with the highest upside and they're kind of slowly building him along. Just thinking about a lineup of like a future lineup of Jordan Poole, Jaden Hardy, if he develops well, Moses Moody, Jonathan Kuminga, that's a really, really solid young foundation. And the Warriors can just take whoever they want, whoever they think has the highest upside, and just let them coast for the next couple of years. They're totally fine with that. And that's why I think they take Jaden Hardy here. Even though there are a couple better fits, I think Jaden Hardy would be the pick if he's available here. Yeah, so the Warriors, I just feel like they can afford to take that time and just take the highest upside player, whoever they believe in, which at this point would be Jaden Hardy. He definitely has the highest upside in this range, and just coast and just let him develop in the background. And I think that's what they would do. I'm not even sure if Jaden Hardy's going to be here on draft night. This would be a little bit of a fall, but it could happen. And I think the Warriors would jump on it if they had the chance. Let's go to 29 with the Grizzlies. Go ahead, Jaden.
And right now, Grizzlies, I feel like their starting center is Steven Adams, if I'm correct here. Jaren Jackson can play the 5, but they do need some depth at the 5, 100%. And this is a slight reach, but since we're just doing a 1-round mock, I'm going to make it. And I'm going to go with Ismail Kamagate.
Yeah.
I think that's how you say it.
Yeah.
I think his upside is borderline top 15 in this draft. I think he's got defensively, I think he's got probably the highest ceiling other than probably Chet Holmgren in this draft defensively. As far as bigs go, I think he can easily be defensively. I think he can be a Bam Adebayo level. And then offensively, obviously some flaws, but he's athletic, good lob threat. I think he could be, a worse version of Bam. I think his ceiling's like a worse version of Bam. And I think a pick like that at 29 is just, I think that's good value there. So I'd go him at 29.
Yeah, his defense reminds me of like a Robert Williams on the Celtics in a sense.
Oh yeah.
And you're right, he definitely has an insane upside. He's going to take a little bit to develop, but the Grizzlies can afford to do that right now.
Exactly.
Especially because they have 2 firsts this year, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think they have a second this year as well. So they can take whoever the heck they want and just sit in the background and develop them if they want to, because they're already winning right now. All right, so the last pick of this mock draft is the Thunder via Phoenix. So why don't you go ahead and tell us who they picked out?
I'm just gonna go with the guy who's kind of been falling. He was at best like supposed to go in like the low 20s. So it's definitely not unrealistic that he'd still be here at 30. But I'm gonna go with Blake Wesley.
Yeah.
At Notre Dame, I feel like he has like probably the most upside out of like anyone left. Not of anyone, but I feel like he's definitely the best available.
He's a good value pick.
Yeah, for sure.
His calling card is going to be defense for right now. His scoring is going to need to be improved, even though I do see you can see like the shades of like, oh, this guy could do it. Like he's a little shifty sometimes and he can get there. He's just got to learn how to finish better and shoot better, especially. But I like how he plays. Like I just like watching him. If he can just put it together and actually finish his shots and actually hit his shots in general, I think he would be a fantastic player.
I think he's a very Thunder pick. I think they have the means to develop him. They got a very good developmental team.
Yeah.
They obviously have plenty of guys that are projects right now, so they'll fit right in with just kind of how the team's going. And I think he can learn a bit from SGA. He can kind of watch Trey Mann, because I feel like obviously he's not going to be the scorer Trey Mann is, but I think he's got like a lot of the same like quirks. Like he's shifty. Yeah. He's got shake like Trey Mann. He's got like the mobility of him. He's just like bigger. So I think if watching guys like Shea or Trey Mann just will kind of help him like offensively just become a scorer.
All right, so that wraps up our mock draft. I also want to shout out some people who we didn't get to draft who could be available. I mean, a lot of these guys, I'd say from like 21 and on, any of these guys could go interchangeably within the first and second round. Like I think the only locks for the first are all the way up to 20. Mm-hmm. And that's just how this draft is. Like the tier of talent is just not that big between 21 and like 50. Mm-hmm. Maybe not that low, but like 40 at least.
Yeah.
Honorable mentions: Wendell Moore, Christian Brown, Patrick Baldwin Jr., who, look, I'm gonna be honest, like if he didn't have such a horrible combine, I could maybe see the Thunder taking him at 30, but like he looked horrible. He looked so bad at Milwaukee. Then to come out and have like one of the lowest verts ever, like not a good look, man. Bryce McGowan's, Kendall Brown.
Oh yeah, I mean
Trevor.
He had like a lot of buzz. It's died down, but Kendall Brown.
Yeah, because the offense is just
a couple other guys that I personally like. Caleb Houston. I think he's a good player. And then a guy very high upside, Leonard Miller.
Yeah.
6'10", 6'11", freak, could be a very good offensive player.
Yeah, and I also want to shout out Peyton Watson. Trevor Keels, I think, has a chance to go in the first. And then the rest of these guys probably are not going to go in the first, but early second, Josh Minot, Hugo Besson, and Hyungjun Lee. And I think that covers basically everything we got right now. So
and Julian Newman and Kai Soto. But you
stop it.
All right, get this kid off.
All right, I'm kicking you off the pod. You're not coming back on the podcast.
Wait, no. That was
all right.
All right, but thank you guys for watching. If you liked our picks, let us know in the comments. Let us know what we messed up on, what we did good on. If we completely just blanked on somebody, we totally could have completely blanked on somebody, but I think we covered all our bases. Yeah. Roast us if you want to in the comments.
Yeah,
it'll be a fun time. Ivan Bert. I'm
from Jaden.
By Jaden. And we got Mr. West over here.
Yeah.
Thank you all for watching.
I've publicly shamed the whole Wizards fan base, but it's all good.
Man, relax.
All right.
All right. Thank you all for watching. Have a good night.
Appreciate it.